This looks like a lot. I actually weirdly have more cases than guitars, and I don't know how or why, but these are not all full. These are mostly empty cases. I actually don't remember the last time I saw this thing. It's been down here for a while. I thought that was going to take way longer, but I actually found it. Okay. Let's go upstairs. Okay, so this is a video that I actually hadn't planned on making. I have been sort of hiding this guitar for years because, quite frankly, I'm a little ashamed of it. This came up on my podcast, Dipped in Tone, that I do with Zach from Mythos. A few weeks ago, we started talking about parts casters, and I mentioned offhand the first parts caster guitar that I ever tried to buy and restore years ago that I had completely ruined. People were asking for it, so I figured I would show it to you. This is it. From a distance, it actually doesn't look bad, right? It's kind of a nice seafoam green with an off-white guard, a nice maple neck. But there's a whole story behind this guitar, which is why I'm a bit ashamed of it. So this all started back in 2010 or 11. I was in music school here in Atlanta, and I wanted a Strat. So I decided to go online on Craigslist and find one. What I found was a Squier, an old Squier Strat that was completely destroyed. It was Olympic white with a rosewood board. And at the time, I didn't know much about it. I just knew it was a Squier and it was all beat up. The electronics were completely shot. The magnets, the pole pieces in the pickups were completely rusted through. I actually think the guitar might have spent some time either in like a flooded basement or underwater. So I met the guy up at like a McDonald's. I think I paid him like $125 for it, and I brought it home and decided to try my hand at rebuilding. I had no idea what I was doing. I had never swapped pickups on a guitar before. I had never done any kind of work on a guitar before, but I figured it might be a fun project. So I bought some DiMarzio single coils. I bought a cheap wiring harness online. It needed a fret job, which I couldn't afford at the time. The frets were completely shot. So far this is not that big of a deal, right? You're just restoring an old beat up Squier. What I didn't know, though, at the time, was that this was a made in Japan E-serial number, which, if you know, are somewhat sought after guitars. That era of made in Japan Squier guitars are excellent. Now, again, in 2011, I had no idea about this. I just thought it was a Squier. I thought all Squiers were cheap. This was a good sort of test bed to build something on top of. And I didn't really know that I was kind of destroying a nice collectible guitar. Now, I mentioned that it was white. It's no longer white. The original finish was completely destroyed, so I decided I was going to try and relic it. At the time, I was really interested in the relic guitar thing, and I figured, oh, I can just do it myself. The guitar is already beat up. It's not like I'm destroying a brand new guitar, so I tried to relic it. And I dug through my phone to look for pictures of the original relic job, and thankfully I don't have any because it was atrocious. I basically went out in my driveway with sandpaper and screwdrivers and chisels and just destroyed the body. I like sanded away up here where I thought pick wear might happen, down here on the armrest, and for some reason back here behind the bridge, I like dug out a bunch of wood. I took screwdrivers to it and just attacked the body because I figured like, oh yeah, this is natural wear that would happen. So not long after that, I decided to paint it black. So I stripped it all down, sanded it back, used wood filler, used grain filler to repair my mistakes, which you can actually tell here on the top. I didn't do a good job of it because you can still sort of see through it. And I painted it black with that Guitar Re-Ranch stuff, the nitro lacquer. And it actually didn't look bad. I went with full black pickguard and black pickup covers and knobs and everything. And that was actually a pretty good looking guitar. Now the neck that's currently on it is not like a Warmoth or an all parts neck. This is from a local guitar tech near me named Greg, who I used to go to for all of my repairs, all of my stuff. He was running a company called Aperio Guitar out of his garage. And at that time, Greg from Aperio was trying to get his business off the ground building parts caster necks for Strats and Tellys. And this is actually his first like production neck. This is the serial number 1 from Greg at Aperio Guitar. It's a complete baseball bat neck because at the time that's what I told him I wanted. I wanted the chunkiest neck I could get. And it's okay. You can tell that this is pretty early on in Greg's development of CNC machining necks and finishing them by hand. The fretwork is pretty good. We went with these giant jumbo frets on here, but the fingerboard edges are super sharp. It's not very comfortable to play. It's way too big. It's too massive. And also the neck sits a little too high in the neck pocket itself. So I had to raise the saddles up really high and raise the pickups up really high. Nice sort of piece of flame maple on there. So I finished it in black with the maple neck and I started gigging it, started playing it out. Did that for a few years until I bought my John Mayer Strat, and that became my main Strat. And this one sort of fell by the wayside. And then at some point, about 3 years later, I decided I was tired of the black and I went back to Guitar Re-Ranch and figured I would do it in seafoam green and did just the most piss poor paint job you've ever seen on a guitar. Like again, from a distance, it doesn't look bad, but if you actually get up on it and take a closer look, it is very, very apparent that I had no idea what I was doing. There's tiny little pits, little pit marks all over the finish that I couldn't sand out. There's imperfections everywhere. There's a few runs and drips that I had never noticed until just now. Had I known then what I know now about what this guitar was, a Japanese Squier from the early 80s, I would have done a much better job of restoring it, keeping it as original as possible, and kind of bringing it back to its original glory. Again, I have no idea where the original neck is. If I could find the neck, maybe I do that, strip it back down, have it finished in Olympic white, have the original neck refretted, try and bring it back to its original glory. I don't know. Part of the reason I'm making this video though is I don't know what to do with this guitar. It's literally just been sitting in the basement in its case for years. In fact, I don't even know if the pickups still work. I think if I remember correctly, like maybe something was wrong with the wiring. Let's actually plug it up and play it. First of all, okay, the frets are like, they need some love. Pretty dark, it's pretty muddy. I don't remember what pickups are in it. They're DiMarzio something. I don't remember what they were. Also, there's some weird things like, I think I ordered the wrong pots, because if you look at how high up the knobs are off the pick guard, these are obviously like long shaft pots for a different style of guitar. Again, I didn't know. In fact, I might not even have the right pot values in there for Stratocaster. I don't really know what to do with this thing. I've kind of ruined it because underneath this bad paint job is a lot of just shoddy work. There's 2 or 3 levels of bad paint underneath it, bad wood filler that's covering up a bad Relic attempt. Does have the original bridge on it. I'm definitely not gonna sell it or anything like that. I feel like it would be a shame to just let this sit in its case, you know, and rot in the basement. So let me know. What should I do with this thing? I figured I would just show it to you because I had some people asking about it who were listening to the podcast. And yeah, moral of the story here is if you're gonna dig into a guitar to try and, you know, make it your own, restore it, relic it, whatever, just make sure you know what it is first so you're not destroying something that's actually valuable like I kind of did here. It definitely could be worse, you know? It's not like I did this to a real vintage Fender or anything like that. But again, those Japanese Squiers are really special guitars, and I unknowingly took one out of the world because I just didn't know any better. So yeah, this is the guitar that I swore would never see the light of day, and now here it is on my channel. Let me know what you think I should do with it in the comments section down below. My name's Rhett, thanks for watching. Check out my video courses in the description and subscribe while you're down there, and catch you on the next one.